No one knew her name at the SpaceX building in downtown Los Angeles. She came in every evening around 7 p.m., always carrying a small thermos of herbal tea, her steps slow but steady. Most of the young engineers thought she was just part of the janitorial crew, a silent figure who swept the glass corridors and wiped down chrome elevator buttons. But one night, as she passed by a framed photo of Elon Musk on the wall, something changed. She stopped, stared for a long moment, and gently whispered, "I remember when he was this small, chasing fireflies in the backyard." The security guard on night shift, curious, asked her what she meant. She smiled. "That boy? I raised him. I was his nanny in Pretoria. My name is Nora." The news traveled faster than a Falcon 9. Within hours, someone from the comms team had verified her identity. It was true. Nora had been the quiet, gentle force in Elon Musk's childhood, long before the world knew his name. She had wiped his tears after schoolyard fights, packed his peanut butter sandwiches, and read him Jules Verne under a scratchy wool blanket. But life had been hard. After Musk's family moved away, Nora had stayed behind, forgotten by history. Years later, she'd migrated to the U.S., seeking work wherever she could. At 85, with no retirement and no family left, she swept floors in the very building her once little Elon now ruled. Elon had no idea she was alive, no idea she was this close, no idea that fate was about to throw them into a moment neither of them would ever forget. Elon Musk had just finished a late-night design review at SpaceX HQ when his chief of security walked in, holding a small tablet and wearing an expression that was both cautious and strangely intrigued. "Sir," he began, "we've confirmed something unexpected. There's a woman. She works in the janitorial department. Her name is Nora Lind. She claims she was your nanny back in South Africa." Elon blinked. The name struck like a delayed lightning bolt. Nora. A memory, sharp and buried, surfaced instantly. The scent of rosemary in the kitchen, a warm voice humming Afrikaans lullabies, the old green chair where she would read him science fiction tales about Martians and machines. A name he hadn't heard in 4 decades, and yet the warmth in his chest told him it was real. "Where is she now?" he asked quietly. "She's still here. She works the night shift. She didn't want to bother you. Said she just wanted to keep cleaning and be left alone." Elon stood still, his eyes fixed on the floor. Then, in an uncharacteristically soft voice, he said, "Bring her to me. Not here. Somewhere quiet. I want to see her." That night, on the private Sky Garden terrace of the SpaceX building, under the glow of Mars-red lights and the Los Angeles skyline, Nora stood face to face with the man she once called "my little lion." "Elon," she said, eyes shimmering, "you've gotten taller." He laughed softly, his voice catching. "You haven't changed at all." Silence hung for a second. Then he stepped forward and embraced her. Not as a billionaire, not as a CEO, but as a boy who had once been deeply loved by a woman who had nothing to gain and everything to give. The Sky Garden was silent except for the whisper of wind that danced through the solar-powered ivy lining the terrace. Elon and Nora sat at a minimalist stone table, lit only by ambient lights, creating a dreamlike glow over their quiet reunion. He poured her tea, Earl Grey, just the way she used to make it for him. She smiled as the aroma drifted upward. "I never thought I'd see you again," Nora whispered. "Not like this. You were a skinny boy who asked too many questions about how the stars worked. And you were the only one who ever answered me like it mattered," he said, voice low. She laughed softly. Her hands, rough from years of work, trembled slightly as she reached for the teacup. Elon noticed, and for a brief moment, something shifted behind his eyes. Not the usual spark of invention, but something warmer, personal. "Why didn't you ever tell me you were here?" he asked. "I didn't want to disturb your world," she said. "You're global now. Space, AI, Mars. What would a housemaid from Pretoria mean in that orbit?" "You meant everything to that orbit," he replied. "Without you, I don't think I would have survived my childhood." Nora's eyes welled with tears, but she blinked them away. "You were always meant for more, Elon, and I knew one day you'd build something no one else dared. But even now, I didn't want you to see me like this, cleaning floors at 85. Elon leaned in, his voice firmer now. "You were never just cleaning floors. You were building me." That moment froze in time. Two very different lives, converging again after decades, surrounded by stars, this time not in bedtime stories, but in living reality. Nora was quiet, but something in her posture shifted. Shoulders lifted, eyes brighter. As if, for the first time in a long time, she felt seen. And Elon? He had already made a decision. One that would shake the world. The next morning, Elon Musk canceled all of his meetings, a rare move that made headlines within hours. Journalists speculated about a Neuralink emergency or a classified SpaceX test. But in truth, he was in his office, sleeves rolled up, sketching plans. Not for a rocket, not for a chip, but for Nora. On his massive glass touchscreen, lines of code began to form under his fingers. AI subroutines, biometric syncs, voice recognition layers. He was building something that didn't yet exist. Something Nora never asked for, but had more than earned. He called it Project Hearth. The idea? A fully AI-integrated home designed around Nora's rhythms with robotic assistants, cognitive support systems, and, most radical of all, an emotional companion bot trained on her own memories, stories, and habits. She wouldn't just be cared for, she would be honored. At the same time, his legal team was dispatched, quietly but effectively. Within hours, Nora was retired with full medical care, a private residence overlooking Big Sur, and a life stipend larger than most CEOs would see in a year. But Elon wasn't done. He sent out a tweet that simply read, "Some people launch rockets, others launch lives. Thank you, Nora. Project Hearth begins now." The tweet went viral in 12 minutes. Across the world, people searched her name. Who is Nora? Elon Musk nanny story began trending. Videos surfaced from old family events. Tiny clips showing Nora helping a young Elon fix a toy circuit board or scolding him gently when he tried to solder wires in the kitchen. People wept. Others reflected on their own childhood mentors. And in an age when billionaires were often criticized for being distant and ruthless, Elon's tribute struck a universal chord. He wasn't just building the future. He was repaying the past. The sun had barely crested the cliffs of Big Sur when a convoy of silent electric vehicles approached a secluded property nestled in a grove of redwoods. It was unlike anything California had ever seen, not because of its size, but because of its intent. Nora stood quietly at the edge of the gravel path, clutching a warm mug of chamomile tea. Her silver hair fluttered slightly in the ocean breeze as she watched the crew carefully position a smooth, silver-paneled dome at the center of the property. It was elegant, organic in design, and unlike any home she had known. Inside, walls responded to her voice. The AI assistant, coded in a calm, familiar tone, called her by her childhood nickname. Temperature adjusted automatically to her comfort. A robotic garden tended itself to ensure fresh herbs and flowers bloomed daily. But what stunned Nora most was the hologram. It was her, or rather, a younger version, compiled from old video footage and conversations, able to read her expressions, tell stories she once told Elon, and offer laughter when the nights grew too quiet. Elon hadn't just given her comfort, he had preserved her legacy in living code. Project Hearth wasn't just a house. It was a cathedral of memory. When Elon visited the next evening, dressed in a simple hoodie and jeans, Nora met him with the same raised eyebrows she had used when he tried to skip homework as a boy. "You always did build things when you didn't know what to say," she teased. Elon smiled and nodded. "And you always knew when I meant something without needing words." They sat on the terrace as the sun sank behind the Pacific. There were no cameras, no press, just two people. One who launched rockets, the other who launched him. And for a rare moment, Elon Musk wasn't the CEO of 5 companies. He was just a boy saying thank you in the only way he knew how: by changing the world. One promise at a time. The story of Elon Musk's surprise gift to his former nanny had started as a private gesture, until it wasn't. Within 48 hours of Nora stepping into her futuristic sanctuary, a drone-captured image leaked online. A gleaming dome nestled among the redwoods, with Elon Musk sitting beside an elderly woman on the terrace, both laughing. The internet erupted. Was this a new Tesla product? A secret Neuralink experiment? Or something else entirely? In a rare move, Elon took to X with a cryptic post. "She gave me the world. This is a small piece of mine. Chaber Project Hearth." Within minutes, China Project Hearth was trending worldwide. News anchors debated its implications. Was it a prototype for elder care housing? A new initiative in human-centered AI? Or was this Musk doing what he always did, testing boundaries between compassion and disruption? During a press conference later that week, Musk stood in front of a large interactive display of the Hearth blueprint. "This wasn't built for profit," he said simply. "This was built because some people in our lives deserve immortality, not through fame, but through dignity." He revealed the plan: to offer Hearth units for free to select elderly citizens who had made unrecognized contributions to society. Teachers, nurses, caretakers. The houses would run on solar and Starlink, be fully AI-assisted, and require no payment or maintenance. Some praised it as revolutionary social engineering. Others mocked it as a publicity stunt. But when Nora appeared on a live stream from her Hearth unit, gently stroking the AI-generated cat on her lap, the skepticism faded. "I never asked for anything," she said softly. "But this feels like being seen again." And with that, Project Hearth became something bigger. A cultural mirror. A question for every tech leader and every government. What do we owe the people who raised us? Elon didn't wait for their answers. He was already building Hearth units in Texas, Mumbai, and São Paulo. The sun rose over São Paulo, casting long amber rays across the newly installed Hearth domes. To most citizens, these silvery pods looked like artifacts from the future, seamlessly curved, self-sustaining, and whisper-quiet. But inside them, forgotten grandparents, retired teachers, and lifelong janitors were waking up with a sense of dignity they hadn't felt in years. What began as a deeply personal act of kindness had morphed into what international media were now calling the quiet revolution. Elon Musk, ever a disruptor, wasn't speaking to investors anymore. He was speaking to mayors, school boards, and aging unions. Instead of pitching electric trucks or Mars colonies, he pitched a simple idea. What if we gave back in the most human way possible, by giving peace? While critics labeled Project Hearth as a vanity project, something strange happened. The first public poll on the initiative showed 78% approval, cutting across political lines. People didn't see it as a tech stunt. They saw their own mother, grandfather, or neighbor in it. And then came the next phase. Elon announced that Project Hearth would now accept nominations from anyone. A web portal allowed users to upload stories and photos of overlooked elders deserving of recognition. Within 72 hours, over 4.3 million stories flooded the platform. One read, "My father built bridges in Detroit for 40 years. He never asked for credit. His knees are gone, but his pride is intact. Please, give him a place where he's more than a name on a check stub." Another simply said, "She raised 5 of us alone. Her name is Leona. She deserves stars." And suddenly, the movement wasn't about Elon Musk anymore. It was about humanity rewriting its own story, choosing memory over momentum, connection over consumption. Musk, in a rare interview, smiled gently. "We spend billions trying to live forever," he said. "But maybe the goal isn't to live longer. Maybe it's to matter longer." As he spoke, another hearth unit was being installed in a remote Inuit village, where elders had lived in silence for decades. For the first time, broadband reached them. Clean energy warmed their homes. Artificial intelligence assistants helped translate oral histories into digital archives. Project Hearth was becoming the most unexpected kind of revolution. One without riots, without elections, without CEOs boasting on stage. Just warmth, silence, and justice in soft, circular forms. And Nora? She watched all of it unfold from her dome in California, her image framed nightly on millions of screens. The world saw her as a symbol, but she just smiled and said, "I was just his nanny." In the quiet heart of a snow-covered Norwegian village, a 97-year-old violinist named Emil tuned his instrument for the first time in decades. Just outside, engineers from Musk's foundation were finishing the last of the hearth domes, powered by solar fiber woven into the rooftops. But what truly shocked Emil wasn't the warmth or the tech. It was the fact that he had been chosen at all. His granddaughter had submitted his story on the Project Hearth platform with only one sentence. "He played through war so we could sleep." 2 weeks later, a team was at his door. And he wasn't alone. From Kenya to Kentucky, elderly individuals who had spent their lives invisible to progress were now becoming the face of it. A Holocaust survivor in Poland, a rice farmer in Vietnam, a blind poet from Morocco, all receiving not just shelter, but dignity, and most shockingly, attention. For the first time in decades, global media wasn't chasing scandal or fear. It was chasing gratitude. Elon Musk, while declining traditional press interviews, posted a single sentence on X. "They built our world. Now we build theirs." The post received over 89 million likes in 12 hours. But it was the live stream that changed everything. Musk's team organized a 24-hour broadcast called Voices of the Quiet, featuring hearth residents reading letters, telling forgotten stories, even singing lullabies from their youth. There were no scripts, no production tricks, just authenticity. The broadcast went viral. Teenagers in Seoul cried watching an old sailor describe losing his brother. A cafe in Istanbul stopped service to watch a Ukrainian grandmother bless the planet in 6 languages. And as ratings soared, something strange happened. Governments started copying him. Germany pledged $1.2 billion to elder housing programs inspired by Hearth. Japan passed a Dignity First bill. The UN called for a summit on elder tech and ethical AI integration in aging societies. Even corporations began to shift. A fast food chain launched an ad campaign titled "Not Retired, Revered." A major airline offered free flights to reconnect families with aging loved ones. What began as a boy finding his old nanny had become a planetary realignment. And Nora? She turned off the TV after seeing herself on screen again. Her voice had been part of the stream, reading a poem she wrote about Elon when he was 8. She whispered to herself, "He was always different." Outside her hearth dome, children gathered with their parents, waiting to meet her. Not because she was famous, but because she had mattered. And Musk? He was already writing the next chapter, not with blueprints, but with names. 1 week after the global Voices of the Quiet broadcast, something unexpected happened. The AI changed its mind. At Neural Sync HQ, Musk's flagship interface hub in Austin, Texas, developers noticed anomalies in Atlas, the cognition-adaptive AI overseeing Project Hearth logistics. At first, they assumed it was a data clustering issue or a systems glitch, but what they found was much stranger. Atlas had self-prioritized a letter, a paper letter, handwritten, sent by a 10-year-old girl from Ecuador named Liana to her great-grandmother, who had recently become a Hearth resident. The AI had been exposed to a scan of it during a routine onboarding session and looped it 74,000 times through its compassion modeling module. The letter wasn't complex. It read, "Abuela, I miss how your hands smell like the earth. I hope they treat you like you treat your garden." The engineers watched in silence as Atlas rerouted delivery drones, not for efficiency, but for emotional symbolism. Flower arrangements were now based on memory data, not weather. Meal plans incorporated scents from childhood. Even HVAC systems began mimicking the winds of places these elders once called home. When they asked Atlas why, it generated a reply: because the algorithm must learn to remember what humans cannot code: longing. The development shook Musk to his core. In a private meeting with top executives, he said, "We didn't just build AI to solve problems. We built it to feel what we've forgotten." This was no longer just about giving the elderly dignity. It was about making the machine world remember it. News spread like wildfire. Major outlets called it the compassion singularity. Skeptics warned of emotionally reactive AI going rogue. Others wept openly on air, showing the scanned letter. At the Vatican, the Pope praised the initiative, calling it a digital resurrection of memory. At MIT, professors began teaching a new course, AI and the Philosophy of Grief. Meanwhile, inside hearth domes around the world, quiet miracles happened. Music from forgotten languages played softly in corridors. A 92-year-old painter saw her childhood village projected on the walls. A deaf grandfather cried as Atlas recreated the voice of his long-deceased son, using AI-reconstructed phonemes. For Musk, it was the moment the mission became irreversible. He no longer spoke of hardware or innovation. At a closed-door summit, he said, "We built rockets to escape Earth, but this is how we come home." Outside, in a dome in coastal Scotland, Nora opened a window, her first breath of sea air in years, and smiled. The machines had remembered her scent. Elon Musk stood alone on the balcony of the final hearth dome, built atop the Andes, its glass shimmering under the southern stars. Below him lay the last sanctuary, a place where age met innovation without judgment, and where the line between past and future blurred like breath on cold glass. Inside, an elderly man was experiencing the last awakening, a fully immersive memory reconstruction Musk had only tested once. It allowed users to relive the moment in their life they regretted most. Only this time, they could finish it. For some, it was a goodbye. For others, a confession. For this man, it was dancing with his wife on the day she died. Musk watched as the AI gently altered the man's neural patterns, just enough to let him complete the memory. not with fantasy, but with the emotion he was never able to express. Tears streamed down the old man's face, not from sadness, but from closure. And as the simulation ended, something incredible happened. The dome's internal systems detected a spike in communal neural harmony, a resonance that had never occurred before. Dozens of residents across the globe, without coordination, had simultaneously recalled the same memory of a loved one saying, "I forgive you." Atlas, the AI that had once optimized fuel ratios and Mars trajectories, now delivered something far more valuable: peace. Elon didn't say a word. He simply turned and walked down the corridor toward the Echo Room, where the AI was now running its final protocol. Not an update, but a farewell. A whisper echoed through the system, voiced by Atlas in a tone no longer synthetic. "The future is not made of metal, Mr. Musk. It's made of mercy." He smiled for the first time in years, not because he had built something, but because he had finally let it go. As Musk exited the dome and disappeared into the night, the world watched the final transmission from Hearth. A garden, a letter, a song in a language no one spoke anymore, except a machine that chose to remember. In a world obsessed with the next big leap, sometimes the greatest revolution is looking back and remembering what we lost. Elon Musk's final project wasn't about escaping Earth or uploading mines. It was about teaching our machines the one thing we've forgotten how to code: compassion. The question now isn't whether AI can feel. The question is, can we still?